Hey guys, Mika here, and welcome to another membership lesson here at the Ukulele site. We offer some amazing lessons from a lot of awesome, talented teachers, and sometimes I'll get thrown in the mix. So it's always exciting to be here and share some of my knowledge with you folks on the other end. So for this one, this is going to be quite the interesting and kind of like we can kind of brainstorm, even though we're not here in the same room. I'll try to talk to you, through all of these wonderful kind of ideas that I have in my head and try to make it more systematic. Step one, two, three, four, and go down the list. And this is, I hope, going to be a fun lesson. So this is, you can think of it almost like a continuation or like a mirror from a lesson that I just previously did, where I went ahead and taught Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, but I did it over a pretty classical sounding fingerstyle pattern. So if you guys have time, or if you didn't check it out, go ahead and check out the other video. I think you guys will really enjoy it. But this one will be kind of building off more of that fingerstyle pattern on the right hand. Okay, so what I mentioned earlier, we're going to go ahead and learn how to improvise. Ooh, but maybe not so much improvise, but more so we can call it, quote, Corey, noodling. Noodling means like, yeah, you're kind of just making things up and playing around the ukulele. You go from one chord to another chord to another chord, and then you kind of just making it up long. You're just noodling your way through some chord progression and adding some melody notes. But we're going to go ahead and use the fingerstyle pattern that I taught in the other video. I'll quickly go over it again in this one, and I'll walk you through step by step on my thought process on how you can start from here and then eventually make your way up here and hopefully have a lot of fun with this exercise. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the pattern itself. So quick review. Right hand, you're going to go ahead. I like to dedicate my fingers. So my middle finger is going to be planted on the A string right here. My index is going to be on the E string right here. And then my thumb will go ahead and be alternating with the C and the G string. The pattern itself is going to be over, if you're in 4/4 and you have 1, 2, 3, 4. If you subdivide it a little more, so like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, the pattern itself takes up the 1 and 2 and. All right, so beat 1, you're going to go ahead and pluck your thumb and your middle finger on the C and the A string, just like that. So you're going to pluck, and then you're going to go ahead and the and, so 1 and, the and will be your index plucking that E string. Then the 2, you're going to go ahead and shift your thumb to the G string on the top, and then you're going to go ahead and pluck both of those, the A and the G string, at the same time. That's your beat 2. And then you're going to go ahead and have your index pluck the and, or on the and on the E string, just like this. So if you count it, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. I can't even count that fast, but that's going to be the pattern itself. Just this, over and over again. Wow, we're going to learn how to improvise with doing that fingerstyle pattern. How are we going to do that? So hopefully you guys will enjoy the ride as I try to build it up all the way. So I have a total of 11 steps, not to intimidate you, but to show how, you can make it a 50 steps, 100 steps, really how nitty gritty you want to go into each step. And, you want to change the chords or do all these different kind of things. But I wanted to condense it to 11 steps. And before we get started, I wanted to make it very clear that it's not that you have to get through all 11 steps. It's just one of those things where if you get to step 3 and you're like, whoa, I'm already like, this is already really pushing me really hard, then that's fine. You can go ahead and stop at number 3 and practice, pause the video or save it, come back to next week's. All right, number 4. All right, number 5. Oh, I'm stuck again. Completely fine. You can go ahead and go at number 5, practice, come back. This is not something that you have to go through all 11 to feel successful in this lesson video. It's one of those like, you go where you want, you take away what you want, and then you can always come back to this and keep going all the way till you work yourself up the ladder. So let's go ahead and get started. So now that we have that pattern on the right hand, we're going to go ahead and we're going to be improvising or noodling in the key of C. Now, what does that mean? We're pretty much going to be improvising around chords that are very fundamental in the key of C. So the main chords we'll be working on, and I'll go way more in depth later, is pretty much your C chord, your A minor chord, your F major chord, and your G major chord. Okay, but for now, we're not even going to worry about chords. We're going to worry about the C scale notes. So for those of you familiar, C scale is, you're pretty much plucking all the white keys on the piano. You start on the C note and then use D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And this is what it would look like. 0, 2, 0, 1, 3, frets, right? But we're not going to worry about trying to pluck the C scale on the top 3 strings. We're only going to worry about plucking the available C scale notes on the A string, because right now we're going to be improvising around chords and writing melody. And to me, when you have a melody in fingerstyle, it's predominantly on the A string. Sometimes it shifts to the E string, but that's not going to be covered in today's lesson. So we just want to associate ourselves with what are the notes that I can play on the A string in this key of C major, right? So we can go ahead and start off with this open string, so 0. Then we can hit the 2nd fret. This is your B note, the 3rd fret C note, the 5th fret D note. We can go hit the 7th fret E note, 8th fret F note, 10th fret G note, and then we can go ahead and stop here at the 12th fret, because it's kind of high once you go past that. But if you guys are curious, you can go ahead and play the 14th fret, that B note, and then that high C note. So the reason why it kind of sounds like an A minor scale, but don't worry about that. This is just so we can start from an open string. So 0, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, and 12. And then again, if you want to go 14 and 15. So those are the available notes that we can pluck in terms of like when we're trying to write or create a melody out of thin air. Those are the available frets. If you stick to just plucking those frets, you'll be fine. You'll be playing the correct notes. For those of you who have finger dots or finger fret markers on, whether it's on the back of the instrument or on the front of the instrument, what's really friendly about the key of C is that we're pretty, if we were to block up the whole entire fretboard, we're very familiar with the first 3 frets. We hold a lot of our chords down there. So if you were to only look at it like this, these 2 frets are already safe in the key of C. But what's really awesome about the key of C is that these fret marker positions also illuminate the other correct notes that you can play on the A string. So remember when I said the 5th fret earlier, that D note? Well, the dot's right there. Remember when I said the 7th fret E note? Oh, there's a dot right there. This 10th fret right here, this is a G note, and there's a dot right there. And then the 12th fret with that fret marker dot, that's another note of the C scale. The only note that you need to remember that doesn't have a fret marker is that 8th fret. And I would like to think it's pretty easy because it's right next to that right here, the 7th fret. So because you're familiar with these 2 or these 3 notes, because we're all familiar with the first 3 frets, then if you just play any of the dots, you're good to go in terms of where do I play? I don't know where to play. Just those. And then if you can memorize that last final F note right here, right next to the 7th fret, then you pretty much have all the notes. Again, it sounds like an A minor, but I promise those notes are part of the C scale. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and take those notes that we know we can add a melody on, and we're going to throw our fingerstyle hat into the mix. So we're going to go ahead and do one pattern. So a pattern is 1 and 2, and we're going to play one pattern per the melody note, or per this when you're playing the C scale on the A string. So what is that going to sound like? So I'm going to start off with the open A, and we're going to play one pattern. After I finish that one pattern, you're going to go ahead and hit the next note in this, in all of the available notes. So you hit 2. Then we're going to go ahead and put our middle finger down to hit 3, play a pattern. Then you can put your pinky down to play the next pattern. And then hit the next note, which is the E note. Then the 8th fret. Then the 10th fret. Then the 12th fret. So if I were to put all of that and combine all of that, it would sound like this. And if we were to go back down, just retrace your steps. So that's going to get us familiar with not only doing the pattern, but also teaching ourselves, okay, these are the notes that I can go ahead and play on the A string when I decide to, write a melody or to try to create a melody off the top of my head when I add the chords in. But again, starting with just step by step by step, this is going to be step number 3, which is, again, you're playing the C scale notes on the A string, but we're adding the pattern. You can play it fast. Like that. A few pointers to keep in mind. With the right hand, you want to be as relaxed as possible. Try to get that flinch motion. Don't try to like that, you have that really heavy, just not a really good tone. You want to be really relaxed, just like this. You can see my hands, big knuckle moving. Get more of that flinch motion like this when I pluck together. It's not like that, but more just flinching like this. So nice and relaxed, get a nice light airy tone. You want to make sure that you're also playing at the same volume, so you don't want to go like, where some notes of the pattern stick out louder than others. You want to make sure everything is very consistent. And then, of course, you want to make sure that your rhythm's on. You don't want to, play certain notes or fingers faster than the other. You want to make sure that, if you like to practice with a metronome, everything sounds exactly the same. Just like this. Okay, so that was just step number 3, going up the scale, up and down, just like that. So now step number 4, now we're going to go ahead, and hopefully it's not confusing, but we're going to switch notes halfway between the patterns. So what does that mean? And by doing this, you're going to get kind of a cool sound. So what does that mean? So rather than playing the full, fleshing out the whole pattern, meaning you're going to go 1 and 2 and, you're essentially going to only have 1 beats, like 1 and. When you get to that 2, so you're kind of like halfway in the pattern, then you have to play the next note. So this is what it's going to sound like when I put it together. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So essentially you're playing it 2 times faster. You're not playing one full pattern before you switch and switch. Now you're playing half the pattern, and then you're delegating the other half to like the next note, and then it just keeps going on and on. So playing it a little faster, it has this kind of sound. Versus the, now you have mixed up, jumbled up in there, but that's essentially going to be step 4. It's trying to practice playing up and down just like that, in terms of being able to halfway through and then start and then switch, then switch, then switch, then switch, then switch. Okay, the faster you can do it, the more you know that you got it. But I have to preface that with, for me, in my opinion, playing fast is the last thing you want to worry about. Whatever song you're playing, whatever exercise you're playing, with any technique that you're doing, going fast is one of those things where I feel like you should focus on that last. I feel like working on your rhythm, playing the correct notes, working on your tone, working on being relaxed. Like there's a lot of other things that I feel that are more important than trying to trying to play it like that. It's like you're playing it up to speed, but at what cost, at what sacrifice? So to me, I don't like to sacrifice tone or being really relaxed when I'm playing, or playing the wrong rhythm because I'm trying to play it at normal speed. So, but when you are able to keep all of those other things at a really high level, then you can try to bring your speed up to match that high level. And then the faster you can play and the more you don't have to think about all the other things, that's like when muscle memory kicks in. And that's really important in being able to do fingerstyle, because for me personally, when I do fingerstyle, I'm not really thinking at all what my right hand's doing. I'm more focusing like on the bigger picture of like, what's this melody sounding like, what chords coming next, like 3 seconds into the future, and stuff like that. So that's just some of my advice for you folks. So now we're gonna go ahead and jump into number 5. So now we're gonna kind of back away from the right hand. We're gonna back away from playing all these notes on the A string. We're gonna go ahead and start to add in some chords or some harmony into this exercise, because we can't really noodle around if we don't have chords, or we can noodle around definitely with just those notes, but to make it a little more interesting or harmonically interesting, we can add some chords. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you some C chords and some other inversions. So you're going to have your basic C chord like this, which is your 0, 0, 0, 3. So starting from the top, I count out the numbers, 0 meaning open string, so 0, 0, 0, 3rd fret, so 0, 0, 0, 3. We can go ahead and hold another C chord like this, 0, 4, 3, 3, like this. We don't have to worry about the top string. And then we can go ahead and hold another C inversion like this, 0, 7, 8, 7, like this. So if you go up and down like this, that could be like 5A. Like, okay, this is the C, this is the C, and this is the C, and I'm gonna go back down and then back down. And then when you feel like, okay, I think I got that. All right, now we can go ahead and add the fingerstyle pattern back in. So now you're gonna do one pattern per inversion of the chord. So it's gonna sound something like this. And like I said earlier, speed is not important at first. You want to make sure that I'm playing equal tone or equal volume. Make sure my transitions are nice and clean. Make sure I'm nice and relaxed. I'm not stiff. Make sure my tone is good, not buzzing. And then when I feel like, oh, I got all of that. All right, let's try to go a little faster. And then once you realize like, oh, I'm starting to buzz, going a little too fast, maybe you want to slow it down and try to see. Oh, there we go. So then you can just practice that transition over again, over and over, and then go back to, okay, I think I got it. All right. Yeah, I can go faster. So what that does is that it gets you familiar with not only your right hand doing the fingerstyle pattern, but it gets you familiar. You're thinking quick on your feet about, okay, C, 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 and doing all of that, right? Because that's going to be really important when we try to put everything together. Okay, so that's going to be part 5 or number 5. Now, moving into number 6, it'd be a little boring if we kind of just noodled around the C chord. So we need a friend. We're going to call up the F chord friend. This is the F major chord. So for those of you, you know your F major chord just like this, your 2 0 1 0. You want to go ahead and hold this other F chord in this kind of inversion. I call this F add 2 because we have this G note up here. So nice note. You don't need to hold all of the top string with the middle 2, because these 2 notes are like in unison. So to me, I rather get that unique G note to make the F add 2. I like that sound. Sorry, this add 2 sound. So I like to say 0 5 5 3, and then the last one will be like barring the 5th fret like this, and then pinky on the 8th fret. So we have this, then we have this, then we have this. Now, same thing like what we did with number 5. You can want to just be able to do this, and then okay here, and then here, and then go back down. What goes up must come back down, just like this. And see if you can just do it fast, no buzzing. Like, oh, okay, I think I got this. All right, you know what to do next. I think it sounds pretty cool. And then a little faster. Again, if you start finding yourself buzzing, then try to slow down again and really try to nail that transition. Then, you know, just like that. And really try to, there we go. And then you can go back. So now you have C, C and F just go wonderful together. So now what you want to do for step number 7 is you want to go ahead, again, before, you know, step number 6 is make sure you get your F and do it, you know, cleanly. Once you feel comfortable, go to step 7, and now you're going to go ahead and play one C chord for 2 patterns. And then after you play that, play an F chord for 2 patterns. So you're going to be switching back and forth. So it's not like you're going to play C, then C, then C, then C. You're going to play C, and then you're going to switch to an F chord for 2 patterns. And I'm saying 2 patterns, that way you have a little more time to think, because if you go 1 pattern, that's switching already. I mean, that's really fast. So if you have 2 patterns, you can think, okay, which one do I want to do? Oh, this one. Okay, now which C do I want to do? I want to do this one. Okay, now what's come next? I think this comes next. Oh, see, I even needed more time. I think this comes next. And then now C chord. And then let's go to another F. And then a C chord. So hopefully you can kind of catch on to what I'm doing. Now you're not just playing C, C, C up and down. You're trying to combine it and make like a 2 chord progression. C, F, C, F. So pick any F chord. And then pick any C chord. Let's do this one. And then let's do this F chord. And then let's do this C chord. So now you're kind of linking together different inversions of the same C and F chords. And then you go faster. Oh, see, I didn't get that connection clean, so I want to make sure that I can get there cleanly. And then to another F. And then C. Now, if you feel like, Mika, I got it. This is easy. Okay, and then one pattern each chord. Then you gotta go. You gotta really think ahead, like, okay. Now it's like going really fast, and then you can go faster and faster. And then that's when you're like, I think I got this. I think this is going pretty smoothly. Yeah. So with that, this is probably the hard part where it's like, oh, okay, now I got to really think, because now I'm not only trying to balance a fingerstyle pattern on my right hand, and I'm not trying to only just balance, okay, I'm going to play a C chord, then I want to play this F chord, then play this C chord, and then this F chord. Now this is where the first few numbers come into play. Like, remember when we had to go ahead and play the melody on the A string? Now you want to go ahead and pluck, play these chords, but in the meantime, whatever chord you're holding, you want to be able to locate or see visually on your fretboard, like, okay, so if I'm holding the C chord, I know that I can play the 5 in front of it, or I can play the 7 in front of it. I could move back to the second fret. You want to try play a melody or noodle around the melody that's around the area of the chord shape or the inversion you're holding. So another example would be if I'm holding this F chord like this, well, because you know all the frets that you can play, if I'm holding this F chord, well, I know I can play this 10, I can play this dot, I can play any of these dots, I can stretch here, 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 I can let go. And then when I move to the C chord, you want to be like, okay, I'm holding 7, well, I could bend my middle finger to hit 8, I can put my pinky down to hit 10, I can go ahead and hit 12, because these are all part of the C scale. So whenever you're playing these chords, you can play any of the other notes around that inversion of that chord. So one more time with this F chord, I can hit that 7th fret because that's part of the C scale. I can let go of everything because that 5 is a part of the C scale. I can stretch my pinky to the 10th fret because it's a part of the C scale. When I go back to this F chord, I can pluck open, but then I can also pluck this 2nd fret because that's part of the C scale. Or I can move my ring finger to the 3rd fret because that's part of the C scale. So with this, it's like, whoa, with all these options come great responsibility, because you're going to have to juggle all these options. And that's kind of one of many reasons why, for me personally, I love improvising, because I love the organicness of like, oh, I wonder what I'm going to create in real time. I wonder what's going to happen. But it's also it gives a little anxiety too, because like, what if I play the wrong note, or what if I can't think of what's coming next and then you mess up? Well, that's very true. But for me personally, again, I play ukulele for fun. I love to have fun. If I mess up, it's fine. Of course, when the camera's on me, I try not to mess up as much as I can. But at the same time, when you go home and you're just playing for yourself and no one's watching, you lock yourself in your room, you can just go ahead and just play around and try to see what you can noodle around or what you can make up. So again, this step 8 is kind of a jump in terms of like, wow, okay, I have to put chords and I have to like play melodies around it while keeping this pattern. So it's one of those, again, take it very slow and just see kind of what you can cook up. So I'll do a few examples. Again, the main thing is whatever chord you pick, you want to go ahead and just play some notes that are around that area of the fretboard. You don't want to be, if you're on the 3rd fret, don't try to be playing 10th fret or 8th fret. That's so far away. Just keep it simple. Play like the 5th fret or maybe the fret behind, and you can do something like this. So you're going to play each chord for 2 patterns. And within those 2 patterns, you can go ahead and move the melody note around. And then remember to switch on that. When you finish that 2nd pattern, switch to an F chord. And then you can continue the pattern. So sounds like a lot, but let's try to put it in action. So here we go. I'll take it real slow. of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm kind of walking around. I'm kind of playing a little in circles. If I'm playing in this position, I kind of tend to stay in this position because it just fits. If I don't want to play here and then go all the way up here and then go all the way down here and then try to move too much. Sometimes if you just play in that same kind of like vicinity, sounds really good. It all kind of meshes really well together. So again, just try out new things, like, ooh, that walk down sounds really nice into the F chord. Or what if I did, ooh, I played that F and then I'm going to hold this melody note down the 3rd fret. So hold this F and this C right here. Ooh, and then what if I repeat the same thing? Now we have a motif, or we have a pattern. We have like a theme going on. So I did this. So putting it over chords with the pattern. I repeat it. Ooh, a little faster. And then maybe move on to something else. Back down. Oh, that sounds nice. Walk up to F chord. Oh, so now what's going on is that I'm not just playing a C chord and then jumping to an F chord. I'm actually writing a line or a melodic line on the A string that walks me up nicely. We call it stepwise. Stepwise because you're playing each note in order of the C scale. You walk in do, re, mi, fa, so. Ooh, that's nice. And then why not just retrace your steps? Go back, down, and then go back into that motif. Let's do the other one. Stay there. Let's do this. And already then I'm like, wow, you get to kind of really create some, you never know what you're going to create. You might create something new. You might have played something that's been done already, but you're doing it all on your own and you're making something out of thin air. And I think that's the beauty of improvising. Most of the time, let's just be honest, most of the time it's probably not going to come out good because, again, it's like one of those like, oh, I'm going to mess up or I'm going to buzz. And, there's nothing written in front of me. There's so much. But at the same time, I really live for that. What's going to happen? Especially like when the stakes are high, for someone like me, the camera's on me, or if I'm playing with other people, or if I'm playing live at a gig. Hey, Mika, take a solo. Like, okay. And then you just kind of go for it. A lot of the times I mess up. I try to hide it, but I mess up. But, I laugh it off. I have a good time. But, when you do it over and over and over and over again, eventually you start to kind of just like, oh, yeah, I know I can do this. Oh, I know I can do this. It's called being intuitive because you just build up knowledge and wisdom and experience over doing it over and over again. You fall down many times, pick yourself back up, and you just kind of keep on chugging along. So hopefully, we're only on step 8 essentially, but hopefully you already can see like, wow, I can improvise and do this really cool pattern. But I can just kind of create something out of thin air. I don't need sheet music in front of me. I don't need tabs in front of me. But wow, I'm playing fingerstyle and I'm just making something up out of thin air. And to me, like, that's the essence of improvising. It's like, what's going to happen? Maybe a lot of bad will happen, but when that one good thing happens, you smile like, oh my, did you hear that? And then it's like, play it again. Oh, I don't know what I just did. Story of my life when I do sound samples and, oh, what did you play? Oh, I don't know. I improvised. But that's kind of the fun of it. I can go watch it back again and like, oh, wow, that was really cool. Or, oh, I didn't like that. But that's the fun of it. You win some, you lose some with improvising, but it's just such a fun kind of skill to kind of practice. So hopefully you guys can get a little bit of that from this lesson today. So let's go ahead and jump into number 9 really quickly. Number 9 and number 10 are kind of one and the same. Number 9 is taking everything that we just did right there and adding a 3rd chord to the progression. It's like, oh no, 3rd chord. It was already hard enough to try to make C and F sound good together. But now we can go ahead and add a G chord, a G major chord. So we can go ahead and add this G major chord right here, which we're all familiar with, but we can also go ahead and hold a G chord like this. So you can go ahead and hit 0, 7, 7, 5, or we can go ahead and bar the 7th fret, 7, 7, 7, and 10 with the pinky. All right, so same thing. Let's just go ahead and play a G chord and then play the next G chord and then play the next G chord, and then what goes up must come back down. Okay, and then after that, you know the drill. You want to go ahead and practice the pattern. So like, okay. Play it cleanly, no buzzing if you can, and then a little faster. Like, okay, I got it. So now, before you even take the melody, do C, 2 patterns of C, 2 patterns of F, and 2 patterns of G. So now you can pick a C, pick an F, okay? Pick a G, okay? Pick a C, pick a F, pick a G, and then pick a C. Ah, okay, I got it. Now, same thing. Okay, we got to add a melody now, so let's try to do something. Let's see. I don't know. By the way, I'm improvising all of this. No tabs in front of me. This is the essence of improvising. Like, let's see what goes on with this. All right, here we go. Okay, so I pulled that from earlier. C. Let's do that small T from earlier. C. F. G. So it's a little more interesting now because we have a third chord, like, ooh, a G chord. So now if we go on to number 10, we're essentially going to add the A minor chord now. So same routine, you're going to have it's, an A minor that you might be familiar with, 2 0 0 0. We can hold A minor like this, like an A minor 7. So 0 4 5 3. And we can also hold this A minor 7, 0 9 8 7. So now same thing. It's like, okay, well, A minor, then this is A minor, then this is A minor, and then what goes up must come back down. Okay, I got pretty comfortable with this. Now let's try to do the fingerstyle pattern. Okay. Get used to that. You can go a little faster. Okay, I feel pretty good about that. Now let's throw that A minor into the chord progression. So now you have a C chord, A minor chord, F chord, and a G chord. And then same thing. Don't worry about the melody. Just pick an inversion and then go to the next inversion, pick another one, and you just loop it. So let's try go C, A minor, then F, then G, and then C, A minor, then F, and then G, and then let's wrap it up. A C chord. Now when you feel like, okay, I got that, now you know the drill, you go ahead and add some melody notes. So let's see what I can cook up right now. And that's a nice motif. Nice motif, nice pattern. Yeah, so the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it. You start kind of taking risks, taking, a leap of faith. Oh, I'm going to jump all the way up here. What happens if I do move around, here, 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 and just, you trust your ears, even though you might not, think you have a good ear. Everyone can kind of tell, like, if something sounds good, but just trust your ear. And if you feel like, oh, that sounds nice, maybe play it for a friend, play it for your wife or something, like, hey honey, does this sound good? Like, yeah, so then you take it from there and just keep practicing. So with number 11, think of it like a bonus. Now just go at it, have fun. My only other advice that I can have with this, I'll give you 2 extra things that we can wrap this up. So you know how I said you're gonna have 2 patterns per chord? So we're still gonna have 2 patterns per chord, but we're playing that same kind of chord 2 times. So it's like C, C. But rather than playing this C 2 times and you're playing a melody around it, why not do something like this? I'm playing an A minor, but on the second pattern of that A minor, I play another inversion of the A minor. So now I can move to this part, and then I can play an F, play another F, and then a G, and then a G. So now it's like you're in double time, or you have to think twice as fast, because now you're not just playing a C around the area. You can go. Now it's like, whoa, there's like more chords you're trying to get into. Same chords, but now you're trying to put twice as many chords, because you're not playing this same C for two patterns. You play this for one pattern, and then you play another C for the second pattern before you switch to the A minor chord, and so on. So you can try and mess around with that. Again, it jumps up a lot in difficulty, but if you can handle that, it becomes more interesting of a noodling piece. And then the other thing I wanted to go ahead and mention is that things, when you write a melody, especially when you're improvising and noodling, it sounds really good when you play like a C scale in order. So like how I was playing earlier when I like walked up. So I walked up that C scale. But try see if you can jump around and see. Again, trust your ear. You know, there's no right or wrong as long as you're playing those correct notes. Just kind of try it out and noodle around. So what if I played a C chord like this? Then so I'm kind of reaching all over the place. And again, I'm trying new things. It's probably not going to sound good. It might sound good, but you never know until you try. So try to see if you can play all these other chords, and then try to see if you can play far away rather than kind of playing in that same little vicinity. Try stretch that A minor chord to here, or stretch the F chord to here, or stretch this F chord to 12. And see kind of, oh, that sounds nice. And then, and so on. So again, you can spend another hour with this lesson going on and on. Okay, now I'll do this chord substitution, I'll do this rhythm change, but I'll go ahead and leave it at that. So that's my 11 tips or 11 steps to being able to hopefully have fun improvising around this really nice classically sounding fingerstyle pattern on the right hand, and then being able to go over whether it's a C or F chord progression, C, F, G major chord progression, or C, A minor, F, G chord progression. So I hope you folks have a lot of fun with this. I will be around for the next membership lesson. Very much looking forward to it, and I hope to see you in the next one. In the meantime, keep jamming. Aloha and stay safe.